You know, I could be as loud as Ronald without the microphone. I just don't want him to have the competition, but I could do it. Good evening, everyone, and I really hope you all are having a wonderful evening. Are you having a good time? Wonderful. You know, this is one of my favorite Ronald McDonald House events, as it gives us a chance to show our appreciation to the most important and oftentimes unseen friends of the house, all of you volunteers. And so you need to get used to clapping for yourselves because we're showing a lot of appreciation and love for you guys tonight. My comments are going to be very brief, but I found something that I wanted to share that I thought would be especially appropriate for the occasion. So I'll share it with you now. It goes like this. If you want to touch the past, touch a rock. If you want to touch the present, touch a flower. If you want to touch the future, touch a life. By giving of yourselves, all of you are touching lives and changing the future for the better. So on behalf of the board and the staff, it is my pleasure to say thank you for what you guys do for the house and our families every single day. Your actions are helping to change the lives of our families every single day, and we cannot say thank you enough. And now it is my pleasure to introduce someone you guys all know and we all love, Elise Hyder, our Director of Volunteers. Yay, Elise!
Thank you. It is so great to see all of you here tonight. Thank you for coming. We are so pleased with the turnout. And as Felicia said, this is a night all about you all. You do so much for us, and the staff loves this opportunity to show how much we care about you and all that you do for our families. We seriously couldn't run our house without your love and support and hard work for our families. So thank you. I'm going to keep my comments brief too because we have a lot of things to get through to tonight. I have a little housekeeping thing to keep up with. They found a phone. Is anybody missing their phone? It's a cute baby on here, and I'm not very it's probably got a phone number. Is anybody missing a Verizon cell phone? No? Okay, well, it's up here. All right. It is fitting that we have our appreciation event here in the Art Museum, where it houses masterpieces done by amazing artists that have given so much to our society. Just like you are artists of living and loving and caring and sharing. And you are making a great contribution to our society, just like those artists up on the walls, in a different way, touching hearts, and you really make a difference in people's lives. And so your commitment to care for 1,100 families is awe-inspiring, just like similarly that artwork up there is. You show us what's truly important in life, to serve each other with kindness and compassion. Just this week, I spoke with one of our newer volunteers, and I asked him how it was going, and he said, wow, volunteering here, I love it. I haven't enjoyed anything so much. And he said, every time I see a red lanyard, that's all I need to see. I see a red lanyard, and that's, for those of you who don't volunteer at our house, that's a guest family wears a red lanyard. But every time he sees a red lanyard, he knows he's making a difference. And he's absolutely right. I'd like to share a quote with you that I think best describes you and your work at Ronald McDonald House. Living is the art of loving. Loving is the art of caring. Caring is the art of sharing. And sharing is the art of living. Ronald McDonald House volunteers are works of heart to us. You embody the art of living. Thank you for sharing your heart and time with us and for caring for our children and their families. At this time, I'd like to take a moment to remember the volunteers that we have lost. We'd just like to take a moment and remember these dear friends. Linda Burgess was with us for only a year. She was here, she came every Monday. She loved our house. And one of the great stories I love about Linda, and it just shows the impact you guys have on our house, not only to our families, but to potential donors. She gave a tour to a group, and one of the men in the group said, what does the house really need? And she said, you know what? I'm in this kitchen a lot. We really need some new microwaves. The next day, the man called Corrine at the house and said, I'd like to donate 7 microwaves. Yeah, that's pretty, you all have such an impact, and Linda had a great impact, and we dearly miss Linda. John Pearson, oh my, what a sweet man. He was with us for 17 years. He gave 900 hours to the house. Everybody that worked with him knew he loved vacuuming, and he was so sweet. In his older years, he couldn't walk very well. He was physically limited, but it never stopped him from volunteering. He loved being at our house and helping our families. And I spoke to his wife after he died, and I was telling him, you know, he's known for vacuuming. We think he's up in heaven vacuuming, and he's like, I've never seen him use a vacuum in his life. So, I love that. So we remember John. And Arlene Page, what a dear friend to Ronald McDonald House. We were so saddened to lose this wonderful woman. If you were here at the aquarium last year, we honored Bill and Arlene for 15 years of amazing service and dedication to our families. They've since retired. We honored them last year. And it's so sad that this year that we have lost Arlene. She did so much for our house. She was with us for 15 years. She gave us 4,000 hours of service. And she left quite a legacy at our house in many ways. She had physical limitations, but that didn't stop her from caring for our families. She loved the kitchen and keeping the pantries organized, and loved telling other people about it. And she recruited so many other volunteers to fall in love with Ronald McDonald House. One such volunteer is Rosemary Page, is her sister-in-law, and she's with us every Tuesday afternoon. And she was telling me, you know, Arlene would just say, you need to come to the house, you need to come to the house, you need to come volunteer. And now Rose is a weekly volunteer, and that's just shows how much Arlene loved our house. We are so happy that Bill and his family are here tonight. And Bill, we are so saddened about your loss. And Arlene will be with us forever in our house. Okay, so now is the time we honor volunteers celebrating special anniversaries with us. And I've added up the years of service, and it adds up to 1,435 years. So thank you. It's wonderful. So as you look at the list, we did calculate the numbers based on what your anniversary was. Your anniversary with us was on December 31st, 2012. And we do have some glitches in the system, so if we have an error, please let me know. We are still working out some of the bugs, and I apologize for any misinformation. But before we before we recognize the special anniversaries, I'd like to give a round of applause and ask people to stand celebrating their first year of service with us. Would you please stand? Come on, don't be shy. Thank you. You made it. Thank you. We are so grateful for you. 55 volunteers are celebrating their first anniversary, and we hope it's the start of the beginning of many more. We are grateful for your commitment to our families, all of you, and we hope it's the beginning of many more. At this time, we'd like to honor those volunteers celebrating 5 years. And for each group of anniversaries, I'd like for you to come up and stay up. We have a gift for you, and we'd like to take a group shot against this wall up here. So please come up when we call your name. Randy Adam, Mary Bryant, Bob Cardwell, Mike Carollo, Elizabeth Kloppenborg, Pete McConney, and Tammy Winokur. Please come on up. Thank you. Now we're celebrating volunteers that have given 10 years of service. That is tremendous. So at this time, I'd like to call up Connie Cunningham, Emily Dressler, Kay Frankie, Janet Gorby, Mary Lofty, Debbie Madliner, Cornelia Ship, and Brianna Young. And Brianna Young, I don't know if she's here tonight. She is 17, and she's celebrating her 10th anniversary with us. Her mother is Patty Pratt, a wonderful volunteer to our house, and I don't know of many 17-year-olds that can boast a 10-year volunteer career with any charity. But we love our junior GSVs, is what we call them, so we are grateful for Brianna's service to our house. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. So our next group of amazing volunteers are those celebrating their 15th anniversary with us, and we are the 15th anniversary is a beautiful copy book of Ronald McDonald houses around the world, and that's our standard 15-year gift. So at this time, I'd like to invite Sue Asher, Jill Brown, Vani Butera, Fran Freudemann, Barb Frisbee, Etta Hay, Patty Rolker, and Jane Stacy. And Jane Stacy is a returning volunteer. I don't know if she's here tonight, but she was with us for many years and came back because she missed us so much. And I just realized I had an old list, and I did not recognize Mary Rath. Is she here tonight? Mary, for 10, come on up. Mary was the original volunteer coordinator when the house first opened, and we are so pleased that she's back with the house. And so we added her years up before she was here and came back. She just recently came back a year ago, but we're so glad that Mary's here. So come on up, Mary. Thank you. Thank you so much. Our next batch was only one volunteer, not only. It's amazing, 25th anniversary. It's incredible, is Linda Shepard. And I asked if she were coming tonight, if she was going to come tonight. And she, of course, is serving somebody else. She's in Chicago babysitting her niece and nephew. I'm like, oh, of course. Our volunteers are always doing something nice for somebody else. So, so she was really bummed that she couldn't be here tonight, but we really appreciate Linda Shepard's dedication to her house. It's tremendous. Last year, we did a little fuzzy math due to our 30th anniversary, and as such, we recognized our founding volunteers who had been with us for 30 years. We kind of honored them a little bit early because it was such an incredible year last year, but I didn't want to neglect, and we did do special things for them for their 30th anniversary, but I still want to give a round of applause for these volunteers who have been with us in the beginning. And you don't need to, if you would like to stand, that would be great when I call your name. I know Roseanne Nefflin's here. She was here earlier. Roseanne. Is she here? Yep. Judy Mattingly, Lois Schlemmer, and Marge Verata. They're amazing. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to do the raffle drawing. Did everybody get to turn in their raffle ticket? Because if not, we're going to, staff, can you help look around and see if anybody, everybody turn in their raffle ticket? You want to come in and come on up and bring your ticket? Come on down, the price is right. Did everybody turn in their raffle tickets? Because we got some great prizes. I know, I did that, so I wouldn't. I think we got one more ticket over here. One more ticket. All right, ladies, are we ready? Last call, we get everybody? All right. Okay, we got to open the box. High tech. Woohoo, and she's rolling it. All right, all right. Okay, so I'll wait till she opens it so there's no pressure. Okay, so the first winner is going to win a $25 iTunes gift card, and oh. And the winner is number 2671247. Who won? Woohoo! Come on down, Lisa. All right. All right, so are you ready for the next one? Okay. The next one is a beautiful bouquet of Ronald McDonald House merchandise, cooler, t-shirt, really fun stuff, and a $25 gift certificate to McDonald's. Woohoo! All the fries you could want. And the winning number is 2671248. You must be present to win. Oh, Margaret, woohoo! Okay, this next one is for the Shopaholics. It's a $25 gift card to Old Navy and a $25 gift card to Kohl's. And the winning number is 2671183. All right, Hannah. One of our junior GSVs, awesome. Do you like shopping, Hannah? Do you like to? Awesome. Congratulations, Hannah. Okay, our next winner gets 4 zoo tickets and a $25 gift certificate to Skyline. I know, this is a good one. Good Cincinnati package. And the winning number is 2671254. Megan, with a new baby, she can bring her baby. All right. Congratulations. He's a winner. That's awesome. That's great. our youngest winner. And then the grand prize. This is a good one. 2 tickets to a Cincinnati Pops Riverbend concert, 2 tickets to Cincinnati Ballet's Swan Lake, 2 tickets to the Newport Aquarium, and 2 tickets to the Cincinnati Fire Museum. I know, that's a good deal. I cashed in some favors for that one. 2671179. Who won? Oh, Gail. All right, Gail. Congratulations. You got the mother prize. That's terrific. Okay. All right, we're going to move on and honor our new inductees to the Volunteer Wall of Fame. As hopefully you all know, we commissioned an artist to design a beautiful wall to honor those volunteers that really go above and beyond, that are tireless workers and compassionate volunteers for our families. They dedicate so much of their time to us. It's called our Busy Town of Volunteers, and we dedicated it this past November, and we were happy to see a mix of current volunteers and volunteers we hadn't seen in a while, former volunteers that came. It was really 2 special events. We are so fortunate at Ronald McDonald House to have an amazing core of volunteers that are so dedicated to our mission. We have 63 volunteers on our Volunteer Hall of Fame, and who have donated 1,000 hours or more. Don Freed is still in the lead with 18,000. I don't think anybody's gonna catch close. He's pretty amazing. But you know, there's always hope. There's the bar is real. You can always strive for the bar. And 38 of those volunteers are current volunteers. So that is incredibly amazing. And I added up. I can't do math. It's pretty amazing. I did add it up, and those volunteers on the wall have given us 120,000 hours of service. So it's tremendous. Since our dedication in November, we have 2 new inductees we're very excited about. It's awesome. Connie Wellbrock is one of them. She's on Wednesday mornings, and she used to be in Hawaii, so I guess she's okay. We can, she can't be here tonight. I gave her a pass. That's a good excuse. But our other volunteer is here tonight. I saw him. And we would like to congratulate Daryl Marsh, who has achieved this significant feat in just 2.5 years. Daryl, thank you. Come on up. I hear Daryl's a really good baker. If you're on his shift, you're really lucky. So, okay, now the big moment we've all been waiting for. The winner of our first annual Heart of the House Award. We asked volunteers to nominate their peers whom they thought best represented our heart statement. That's our core values, and that stands for that we all, staff, volunteers, and family, are helpful, encouraging, attentive, respectful, and thankful. We were pleased with the 22 nominations. They were great nominations representing 10 volunteers. And I want to thank those volunteers that took the time and thought to write down whom you thought would best represent the Heart Award. Thank you so much. It was really difficult to narrow it down. We wanted you to vote, but we wanted to narrow it down a little bit. So we narrowed it down to 4 finalists. All 10 were amazing. It was really inspiring to read what you thought of each other. You really support each other and look out for each other, and I think that's what makes our community so special. So some of you did share how difficult it was. Don Freed wanted 4 votes. I said, no, you get 1. So for all of you, he was voting for all of you because he's just so politically correct that way. So our 4 finalists are Brenda Figgins, Don Jansen, Kay Frankie, and Tracy Middleton. And at this time, I just want to thank them for the amazing service they give to our families. If any of you know these fine individuals, you know they clearly represent the heart statement. They will do anything for anyone at any time, and it's an honor. It's a true honor to work with them. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all you do for our families. You're very dear to us, and I hope you know how much we appreciate your hard work, devotion, compassion, and kindness. However, there could only be one winner, and we asked you to vote, so thank you for those that voted. And I'm very pleased to announce that our first winner of Ronald McDonald's Heart of the House winner goes to someone without whom we'd be without clean towels, linens, and sweet baby blankets for infants. She rarely misses her Tuesday and Thursday shifts, and many times when she arrives, she isn't seen again until she leaves. She doesn't do it to receive any special accolades or recognition. She quietly goes about her work and gives 110% in everything she does. It is truly clear how much she loves our families. Staff is so grateful for her incredible devotion and commitment to our house. It is clear she's highly regarded by her peers. They and staff appreciate and admire her tireless devotion to making sure we have clean and welcoming rooms for each family who comes and stays with us. In addition to her awe-inspiring commitment to our laundry room, she also takes it upon herself to make special baby blankets for each child under 2 who stays with us. I'd like to share some of the comments that her peers wrote about her. Each week, she looks over the family list and quietly knocks on the door to present the parents with a handmade baby blanket or quilt. If no one answers, she leaves it in the room with a cheerful note, but never her name. She doesn't want credit. She donates her time and skills to do this weekly. Often, she'll purchase blankets on her own so no one is left behind. Oh, somebody's cell phone. 639-2986. Is that anybody's? I'm gonna go put this in the other room. Hello? Who are you trying to call? Yeah, somebody lost a phone. Who is it? Who are you calling for? Who? Lee? Lee Wise? Is it Lee? Oh, she might be in Art World. She might be in Art World. Okay, sorry. That was not, thank you, Ronald. This was not planned, seriously. This is a pretty good shtick, though. Okay, where were we? Wow. Okay. Often she'll purchase blankets on her own so no one is left without a comfort from home. She is often behind the scenes, but her presence is felt throughout our house. When multiple checkouts are scheduled, she often comes in on additional days or stays beyond her regular shift to make sure there's clean laundry for our families. She volunteers countless hours and days to make sure that we have the best laundry in town. That is true. She has been here many years and works very hard to help our families. It is my complete pleasure to introduce our very first winner of our annual Heart of the House Award, Kay Frankie. I want to tell you about the plaque. It's made by the artist who actually, it's commissioned. We commissioned it from the artist that made our busy town of volunteers, and she took our heart statement and put it around the border, and it's something that Kay can hang on her wall. And we're also going to honor Kay and every winner each year on our wall outside of the busy town of volunteers will have a place honoring our Heart of the House winners. So thank you, Kay, for everything that you do. Thank you so much. At this time, I think Ronald has a magic trick for us.
I'm going to make a phone disappear. Oh, wait, I got a call. Actually, she came down and got her phone, so you don't have to worry, okay? It got returned, yay. So you guys, I want to show you a trick that I always show, and any of the volunteers who are there on Wednesday night when I'm doing a magic show, I always do this trick. I try to do a magic show at the house every 3 months or so, and then do other fun activities with the kids and everything when I'm there to kind of alternate things up and make it interesting. But if you're there on Wednesdays, you see this trick, and it's always the first trick we do because I always try to teach the kids something about the way the house works. And so I thought it'd be kind of fun just to show you guys the trick that the kids all see when they first see me do magic. And I tell them, there's a lot of magic in our house, but I don't know the magic words that make it work. If you knew the magic words that make it work, if you rub these rings together, the rings will actually stick together. And you can tell that you said the right magic words. And of course the kids will right away begin to volunteer magic words. And everybody knows the first word they come up with is abracadabra, right? So we say abracadabra. All the kids say abracadabra together. You guys be the kids. So count of 3, say abracadabra. 1, 2, 3. Abracadabra! Good magic word, but it doesn't work. Anybody know another magic word?
Mishka, Mickey Mouse.
Mishka, Mushka, Mickey Mouse. Thank you, Annette. Okay, here we go. Here we go. We're going to say Mishka, Mushka, Mickey Mouse. 1, 2, 3.
Mishka, Mushka, Mickey Mouse.
That doesn't matter how hard you rub. It doesn't really work either. Anybody got an idea?
Ronald McDonald.
Oh, you can say my name all you want, and that won't do any magic around the place. Believe me, a lot of people say my name in a lot of ways around that house, and it doesn't do any magic. All right? But the one magic word that always works in our house is the magic word please. Yeah, everybody say please. 1, 2, 3. Please. That makes magic. Yeah. But what's even cooler is the thank you. Because thank you, you don't have to yell. You don't have to make a big deal out of. Just when somebody does something nice for you, it's really nice for you to say thank you to them. And when somebody does, I always tell the kids, when somebody does something nice for you at the house, take a moment to say thank you to them. And you don't have to yell it, because thank you is such a good magic word that it works even when you're quiet. All I'm going to do is drop the ring, and it's going to fall right through the other one because you guys say thank you. So really quiet on the count of 3. Everybody say thank you and watch how powerful it is. 1, 2, 3. Falls right through, and that's all there is to it. Please and thank you really work. Now, I'm not saying everybody's always going to say please and thank you to you, because a lot of people are in a hurry and they don't always remember to. But remember, deep down in their heart, just about everybody remembers to say thank you. Thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please help me bring to the stage somebody we all know and love, Jennifer Goodson.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to see you. I always love this night. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. One of our staff, Brian, who's our newer part-time maintenance guy, asked me if I was going to start with a joke tonight. I told him that I'm just not very funny. I never start with jokes because I just can't pull them off. And he informed me there's some really good ones on the side of milk cartons, but I told him I was going to pass on that. And now it's hard to top Elise answering the phone on stage. Which reminded me of back during the presidential campaign, I think it was Newt Gingrich, who was in a crowd of thousands of people and his cell phone went off. And he picked it up and he said, "Honey, I'm giving a speech right now. Can I call you back?" And it was his wife and he answered it. That's neither here nor there. I turned my phone off because if mine rang, it would probably be my daughter like chewing me out because I never do laundry. So I turned mine off. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I am so happy to be with all of you tonight, and I love that we do this event at all these great venues throughout our city. We've been at the zoo, we've been at Newport Aquarium, we've been at the Red Stadium in Hall of Fame, we went to Jungle Gyms one year, now we're here at the beautiful Art Museum. And going to all these venues just makes me kind of fall in love with our city all over again. We have such a great city and so many wonderful places. And there's no need to fall in love with you guys all over again because you all know how much we love and appreciate you all year long. You are the ones who really, truly make our house the home that it is. So last year, for those of you who are at the aquarium, I shared with you in my speech several pictures of families we'd served at the house, and we talked a little bit about their stories. And as I thought about tonight, I thought, you see families like this one every single day. And every time you're at the house, you see a family and you know whether they say it or not. Sometimes they say it in person, sometimes they say it on their checkout survey. But I think we all know how very grateful they are for what the house provides for them and what all of you do to make that possible. So this year, as I thought about my speech, I'm going to apologize, but I got a little bit introspective. I love my life. I feel so privileged to have the job that I have. I truly have the best job in the world. I have a wonderful family. I couldn't be happier, but I think sometimes, and I'm sure most of you feel this way at some point, that you just run around and life is a blur, and you're kind of going from one thing to the next all day long. And we all have these kind of incessant to-do lists in our head, whether they're ones we carry around on paper or ones in our head of, I should be doing this, I forgot to do this, and Monday turns into Sunday before you know it. Here it is already April. I don't know where the year's gone. But life can get crazy busy. But every once in a while, something happens in our lives, and it just kind of makes you stop for a moment. Just stop in your tracks and reassess and reflect and think. I don't know if any of you heard about this, but a couple weeks ago, there was a teacher in Wyoming schools, which is where I live, that's our district, a high school teacher who died quite unexpectedly. Her name was Chris Miller, and she was 43, which happens to be my exact age. She went to Miami like I did. She'd been married 20 years like I have. She had 2 beautiful children and was a much beloved teacher in our school district. She taught for 20 years at Wyoming schools. And on Friday, she was admitted to the ER, and they found out she had a previously undiagnosed brain cyst, and she died the very next day. And I didn't know her personally. My kids aren't in high school yet, so we had not had the privilege of having her as a teacher. But since we had so many things in common, it just really made me stop and reflect and think that every day we have in this world and together is really a gift. And we don't know what tomorrow's going to hold. And all we can do is live the best life we can today and be grateful for all of the things we have. And it made me realize yet again that this is something that our guest families must think every day, is that you have to be grateful for the present and focus on that. So I stumbled across this book recently, and I can't say I'd recommend the book, but it had a really interesting concept to it. Its author, his name's Brendan Burchard. True story, he was in an awful car accident. I promise this isn't all doom and gloom. This sounds like one awful story after another. There's a point to this, I promise. So he was in a car accident when he was 17. He was in the Caribbean. He was riding in a car that was going 85 miles an hour, and it jumped over a curb and flipped and landed on its top, and he managed to survive. And he came out of the wreckage, and it led to really a life of reflection after that. He's now a famous speaker and has written all these books, but the incident caused him to think of 3 essential questions that all of us think of at some point, whether it be toward the end of our lives or maybe even now. But the 3 questions are, did I live, did I love, and did I matter? And I think all of us would consider it a privilege to die being able to answer yes to all 3 of those questions. I lived, I loved, I mattered. But it's maybe not enough to ask them at the end of our lives, and maybe if we ask them now, it's something that can help guide our choices that we make each day and help us live our lives to where we're trying to answer those questions yes each day. So first, did I live? If you've ever seen the movie Braveheart, there's a character, William Wallace, and he has this phrase. He says, "Every man dies, not every man truly lives." So what would it look like if we lived every day more fully, more vibrantly, and more passionately? Are we doing all the things that we set out to do that make us happy and fulfilled? And do we challenge ourselves? This is a tough one because we all have a comfort zone, but do we challenge ourselves to try new things or things that we don't even think are possible? Do we go out and see the world, whether that means a remote destination that we've always wanted to go to, or maybe it's just our own backyard and the beauty we find just all around us where we live? And would it be better to say, "I can't believe I did that," rather than "I wish I had done that"? So in the big scheme of things, I think when we all look back on our lives, it's not the clean house we'll remember or all the things we tidied up or the laundry we did, but it's the time that we spend with family and friends. And with the midst of like all the daily responsibilities we have and chores and the things we do for work and our families and to keep our physical health up, how do we fit in activities like volunteering that feed our souls and bring us a sense of enjoyment? Often, it's satisfying to finish a chore or responsibility, and we feel good about that for a minute. But there's other things, like maybe reading, taking a walk, doing something creative, taking a nap, volunteering, that bring us greater pleasure in life. So the second question, did I love? So to me, this is not just about having a family and friends who, mostly like and tolerate you. My sister's here tonight, so hopefully she's tolerated me for quite some time. But it's if we let ourselves love deeply and with abandon. So what would it look like if we loved every day, openly, honestly, and with all of our hearts? And this question makes me think of how often I truly show up in my own relationships. And I kind of notice when I actually set down my phone and focus on what my kids are saying. At those smartphones, you get so caught up in emails and text and everything going on in the world, but what's really important is right there in front of us, and we really have to disengage from the technology a little bit to really focus on the people we love. I notice that my marriage is better if I shut off the conversations in my head about what happened in my day and just fully focus on what happened in Steve's day and try to listen to that and be present. And I also notice a big positive difference if after a sleepless night when I'm kind of tired, and that's my own fault for having another kid at this age, but if I come in, happen to be slightly tired, if I forget about my tiredness and focus on being fully present and engaged on what's going on at our house, I notice I feel a lot differently. I believe we also express our love by sharing our values with our children and hopefully raising our children to uphold those same values that we all believe in. And I think it also ties into gratitude of being grateful for all the things we have. Certainly shelter and safety and sustenance, but beyond that, being grateful for just the little things and all of the people and the activities and the things that make our lives truly happy and fulfilling. So the third and biggest question, did I matter? Did we make a difference? Was there a purpose for us, and how did we contribute? Steve Jobs once said that he wanted to make a dent in the universe, and he did. And what he did mattered, and it still matters. And I know I myself, and probably, I'm guessing not anyone in this room, but you never know, who's making these technological discoveries that result in billions of dollars. But so what? I posit that what we do and how we approach our days and how if we just try to be a caregiver to everyone we meet and to receive the care that others generously bestow upon us, that is a happy life. So the truth is, each of us does matter. We matter greatly. We matter because we have gifts that we are given to express in the world. We each have talents, ideas, dreams, and strengths. And when we express those in even small ways, we make a difference to the people around us, to our families, to Ronald McDonald House, to the world. So Chris Miller, the Wyoming teacher that I mentioned, mattered. She lived and she loved, and she made a difference to thousands of students in her lifetime. Just as each of you in this room, every single one of you, matters to thousands of families who find a home at our Ronald McDonald House. You matter, and what you do for our house and our families truly matters as well. Roger Ebert, the well-respected film critic who just died last week, said it beautifully, and I quote, "Kindness covers all of my political beliefs. No need to spell them out. I believe that if, at the end, according to your abilities, we have done something to make others a little happier, that is about the best we can do. To make others less happy is a crime. To make ourselves unhappy is where crime starts. We must try to contribute joy to the world. That is true no matter what our problems, our health, our circumstances. We must try. I didn't always know this, and I'm happy I lived long enough to find this out." So I hope this topic wasn't too morbid. I really had second thoughts about it on my way here. I'm like, this is supposed to be such a fun, upbeat night. I don't want to be the downer here, but I felt compelled to just share these thoughts with you that were on my mind. I consider you all friends and family of the house, and I believe that we all get a second chance, just like that author did, to live more fully, to love more openly, and to make an even greater difference in the world around us. So enough introspection and deep thoughts. Let us go. And in closing, I wanted to give you a brief update and summary of the house. We always joke around and every year and call this our State of the House address. So I'm going to put a big logo seal on the front of this, and off we go. So I just wanted to give you a little highlight of the last year, both here in Cincinnati and at Ronald McDonald houses around the world. So there are now 324 houses. That's 10 more from when we were together last year at the aquarium that have opened in the last year. And they're in 32 countries. All told, there are over 8,000 bedrooms in houses around the world. And those bedrooms save families $311 million a year just in hotel costs. Every year, more than 30,000 caring people like you volunteer at Ronald McDonald houses all over the world. This equates to millions of hours of time donated annually, and it saves an estimated $47 million a year in Ronald McDonald houses operational and administrative costs. Here in Cincinnati, we cared for 1,110 families last year. They came to us from all throughout Ohio, 45 other states, and 30 countries. Last year was 22 countries, and now we're at 30. Sadly, for, I believe the first time, we had to turn away more families than we could serve. We had to turn away 1,137 families last year because of a lack of space. Our average length of stay last year was 25 days, which was up a couple days from the previous year. You might not be surprised that that's in large part due to the number of bone marrow transplant kids at the house. And then here's the best number of all. Our guest satisfaction rate, which we measure through our guest surveys, remains at 98%, which is a huge testament to all of you and the service and the care and just everything you do for our guest families. Yay, everyone. The top 5 departments whose families we served, for once, remained consistent from the prior year. Usually they move around a little, but the top division we served was hematology, oncology, and bone marrow transplants, which they now call CBDI, Cancer and Blood Disease Institute. Second was colon and rectal conditions. Third was the neonatal intensive care and fetal care. Fourth was trachea procedures and airway reconstruction. And fifth was the Heart Institute, cardiology. As you all can see, every time you're at the house, no one ever goes hungry. You can eat every meal and snack all day at the house. In 2012, through the generosity of our community, we offered families 748 home-cooked meals, 748 in a year, plus 572 snack groups and 662 activities in 1 year. And all of those are an increase from 2011, and I just need to give a shout out to Lisa Davis, who coordinates all of those. Hey, Lisa. You would never guess that Lisa's part-time. I mean, that's crazy, the number of groups she coordinates, plus a million other things she does too. So despite the continued challenges in our economy, we had a strong fundraising year in 2012. We met and exceeded all of our budget goals. Our current operating budget is about $3.4 million a year. Our Red Tie Gala and our golf outing continued to be first class and very successful events. And I want to thank all of you, our amazing volunteers, for once again coming together under the leadership of Don Freed, who organizes this campaign, to adopt a room together at our house. And last year, you raised $10,614. So thank you. And many of our volunteers here tonight also adopt a room or adopt a family personally or have named a room, so thank you to everyone for that as well. Our volunteers, just a few quick statistics. We currently have 376 guest services volunteers, 10 of whom are volunteens, and 46 of whom are junior guest services volunteers. Finally, I am so proud of our wonderful staff at the house. I hear nothing but good things from all of you, with your experience working with them. And just wanted to share with you who our new staff were who joined our team last year. We have 31 staff, and about 17 of those are full-time. So one huge accomplishment last year was finding Tanya Cornejo to be our new development director. Tanya, will you stand and wave? That's Tanya. Yay. Tanya has an amazing background in fundraising. She's bilingual, which is wonderful to have someone in the house who speaks Spanish, and she loves our mission to the core. And I can tell you that a development director is one of the hardest jobs to fill, and we're just really lucky we found Tanya. Also, I know 2 of our 4 other staff are here tonight who joined last year. Amanda Henderson is in the back. Can you wave, Amanda? Amanda's awesome. She comes to us with a hotel and hospitality background, which is great. And also Betsy Otten, I think, is here. Betsy, can you wave? There's Betsy. Hey, Betsy. And 2 other staff who joined who are not here tonight are MJ Tudor and Jenny Nolan. And I also wanted to just mention we welcomed 1 new board member last year. His name is Kirk Perry, and he is president of Global Family Care at Procter & Gamble. He's really amazing. He's also on the national board of March of Dimes, and one of his daughters is a pediatric cancer survivor. And we just last month brought on a new one too, Teresa Tanner, who is head of human resources and a senior vice president at Fifth Third Bank. She too had a child who was a pediatric cancer survivor. So it's really wonderful when the board can truly relate to what our families are going through. So in closing, thank you again so much for everything you do for our house and for our families. I just can't tell you, it's just hard to find the words to tell you how much we appreciate what you do. And I have the privilege now, should I go ahead and introduce B? Okay, so we have a little switch in the program. We're gonna invite Dr. Lampkin to come on up to the stage. And while she's coming up, I want to tell you a little bit about her. Oh, no? Oh, we have a video. Sorry. B, don't come up yet. just a minute, 5 minutes. Some of you may have seen this video. Even if you have, I've watched it like 50 times, and I love it each and every time. This is a video of the Watts family who lived at our house. They're from Connecticut. You'll probably recognize the girls, Brenna and Claire. You've probably seen them around the house. So we wanted to share this video with you. It's done by a local videographer named Steve Zugelter. He donates his time every year. And I think you'll see he does a really incredible job capturing our mission. So thank you again. Here's the Watts family.
Brenna and Claire were born 12 weeks premature, and at that point they were admitted directly into the NICU. And we were told that we shouldn't expect them to live past the first 12 hours of their lives. And as time went on, Brenna wasn't coming off of the ventilator, and it was a question of not if, but when she would need a tracheostomy to breathe. We first thought the birth of twins was going to be an exciting, joyous event, and it became a nightmare. It feels like you're living in a foxhole from day to day. You never know if you're going to get good news or bad news, or when are they going to tell you some horrible news about your child or give her a death sentence. And what should have been joyful became grief-filled, and it felt like we were actually in mourning for our dreams, for what we had for our family.
This was all brand new to us. I mean, we didn't know anything about prematurity. We didn't know anything about tracheostomies. And we really started off not knowing much. And we learned along the way. We learned that if we want to give our child her life back, her voice back, we needed to come to Cincinnati Children's Hospital to get the care that they can provide.
Some children who are premature need to be intubated, that is, put a breathing tube in through their voice box into their trachea while their lungs mature. So when I first saw her, she had a significant obstruction in the larynx. Doing nothing at all would mean that she had a life with a tracheotomy in place. So we embarked on a series of operations which allowed us to enlarge the airway, give her a speaking voice, and eventually get rid of the tracheotomy.
So one of my fondest memories is when Brenna first had her trach out and we were discharged successfully from the hospital. We were running out to pick up some odds and ends, and I heard Brenna say from the back seat of the car, Dada, for the first time without her trach. And that's a moment I will never forget, because my child spoke, and she spoke without mechanical assistance.
When we first bring Brenna into the hospital for a procedure or any sort of surgery, she sees it as, this is going to be okay. I'm going to see all the people I know, I'm going to see my nurses, I'm going to meet the people I haven't seen in a while, and she has her routines. She dresses in her scrubs, she wears her stethoscope, and she tries to make light of the situation. She tries to be very strong and brave. And deep down we know that she's been through this before, and we know that this is how she's distancing herself from the fact that she's actually going to have to go into the operating room.
The reality is, when Brenna gets that bracelet on and she knows that's the starting gun, it's time to start the race, it's also the race for us too. And as routine as it might be, because we've done it so many times, we never know what's going to happen. So you take a deep breath, you go into the battle and start the race and hope for the best.
If it wasn't for the Ronald McDonald House, we couldn't have been able to do this for Brenna.
On so many levels, we couldn't do this, both financially and emotionally. Financially, that's without explanation. I mean, this is such an incredible facility that gives us a bed to sleep in, a shower to clean up in, a kitchen to eat in. And it takes that stress of wondering, what am I going to do tonight for dinner? It takes that out. Emotionally, this place, the house it's almost unexplainable. It's such a support system, especially when you have been coming here for many years and you get to know people. When you walk through the door, if somebody at the front desk sees that you maybe were crying or you're down in the dumps, they'll snag you and talk to you for a second and just give you a hug. It gives you some place to come and decompress for a few minutes. It's a chance to forget about some of the serious medical issues and focus on being human and focus on being a child.
We take families who feel adrift and scared and frightened, and we help bring routine and normalcy to their lives. You know, they meet other kids here who are going through the same thing, and the patients, the little kids, really feel a sense of normalcy. They might meet another kid in their playroom who has a trach, and back home they're the only kid in their whole school with a trach, but here there's 3 or 4 others running around our house. So it really helps the kids to see that they're not alone.
And that's why I like it here. I mean, everyone has to go in for anesthesia. They have to go through operations and surgeries and checkups, and it just really makes me feel happy that, like, when you walk around and you see cancer patients, other people would stare, and I don't, because I understand it, that, oh, I feel so bad for them that they have to go through this. Cancer patients or any other kind of patient doesn't stare at me on my neck. I mean, I just hate when people stare at me, and here they don't. They don't stare at me, and they don't stare at my scar, and that's how it makes me feel really happy, and, like, it doesn't make me feel awkward or different than other people, because I just have to go through this one little thing, and people just take it like, oh, I have to be extra careful with them. And no, they don't. I mean, I'm a girl, and I'm a human being. I can do it same as they do, but just differently.
There's actually research that shows that when a family is close to their child and able to provide that support on a daily basis, that the child actually heals faster. So not only does Ronald McDonald House help keep families together and to gain support from their own family and others going through the same thing, but we also truly believe that it helps children heal faster and go home faster and resume their lives back home.
When you go over to the hospital, you're back into the war zone. You never know what's going to happen. But you walk 100 feet from the hospital over to the house, and this is an oasis in the middle of the desert. This is a place to come and refresh and get back into your A game, and then get back over to the hospital to care for your child.
Where's the cordless mic for Dr. B? I'm gonna turn that on and take a tour. Doesn't Steve do a great job capturing the house? Quickly before I introduce Dr. Lampkin, we had a request from Art World that if you have kids in Art World that you kindly go ahead and pick them up, because the Art Museum wants us to go ahead and clean up the room and the kids are getting a little tired. So if you have anyone in there, they're ready for you. As Dr. Lampkin comes up, I want to tell you a little bit about her. This is Dr. Beatrice Lampkin. She is one of the founders of our house. She's going to tell you a little bit about that story and how the house first began. Dr. Lampkin was the only pediatric hematologist and oncologist when she first came to Cincinnati Children's. She came to the hospital back with the original Cincinnati riots. So if you can imagine coming up here single from Alabama, right? Yeah. And she was a trailblazer and a pioneer for female doctors and female oncologists. When Dr. Lampkin chaired the Division of Hematology and Oncology for 18 years, and when she retired, the department had grown to 13 full-time faculty and 6 fellows. When she started her career, only about 30% of children with cancer were surviving, and later, at her retirement, at least 80% of pediatric patients were surviving, and even higher rates for those with leukemia. Dr. Lampkin retired in 1991, but she still goes to the hospital all the time and teaches morphology to first-year fellows. And in addition to her amazing career in medicine and founding our Ronald McDonald House, she's also the founder of GLAD House, which stands for Giving Life a Dream. That's actually where I first met Dr. Lampkin, because in my career before Ronald McDonald House, I worked in drug treatment, and we collaborated with GLAD House, which gives counseling and support to children whose parents are addicts to help break the cycle and to give these kids a chance at a wonderful and successful life. So I have Dr. Lampkin to thank, because when I applied for this job 14 years ago, she wrote me a reference letter. And I still remember Mike Sewell, who was the board chair at the time, said, "Oh, it doesn't hurt to have a reference letter from one of our founders." So thank you, Dr. Lampkin. And for those of you, most of you probably know this, but I also have a little daughter named Beatrice, who's named after Bee, because she's just been a role model to me for my whole career ever since I've met her. So thank you for being here tonight.
I don't believe I can quite get up to that. But I'm very pleased to be here, and I want to just say that it's very moving to see what has really happened in the 30 years that since we started the Ronald McDonald House. You people are great, and I would like to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, let me give you a little history about the planning and the history of the Ronald McDonald House here in Cincinnati. Planning for our Ronald McDonald House began in 1979. In that year, it became evident to Dr. Paul McHenry, who's in the auditorium here, and I'd like for him to stand, please, who was in the nephrology division. Did Paul have to leave? Well, nevertheless, he was one of the founders. He was in the nephrology division at Cincinnati Children's, and I was the director of the hematology oncology division, and we, with the meeting of the parents of children with very threatening, life-threatening diseases and trauma, we realized that these parents were having a hard time with their children because of the fact they wanted to stay in the rooms with their children, but you had to sit in a chair. There were 2 actually beds in most of the rooms, with some of them having even more than 2 beds. There were no bathrooms in these rooms, and in fact, there were no bathrooms on the patient's floors for the patient visitors, except in the few private rooms that were available on one wing of the hospital. The beds were separated by a curtain. There was very little space for parents or visitors to stay with the child, and certainly the conditions were physically stressful for the parents. The space within the private rooms was not much better. Now, I must say, now we have a great children's hospital with many more conveniences present. So I'm giving you history that goes back 30 years ago. Because of this realization, Dr. McHenry and I, and members of the Cincinnati Oncology Parents Endeavor, a support group for parents with children with cancer, and some interested friends from the community, decided to form the Children's Family House Board. We had heard of the Ronald McDonald House in Philadelphia that Dr. Audrey Evans had founded. As a result of this need, the president of the Cincinnati Oncology Parents Endeavor, Dr. Gail Nelkamp, was chosen as the president of the Children's Family House Board. He, with the help from the board, wrote the bylaws, and the organization became a nonprofit organization with the plan to try and start a Ronald McDonald House for Cincinnati children's. We met with Dr. Schubert, who was the chairman of the Department of Pediatrics, chief of staff at the hospital, and director of the Children's Hospital Research Foundation, and Dr. Lonnie Wright, who was then president of Cincinnati Children's. We received their endorsements for going forth with the project. Shortly thereafter, Dr. Wright obtained a deed from the Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center for the Children's Family House Board to give the land on which the first house was to be built, and we only had to pay $1 for 99 years. Dr. McHenry, Mr. Lou Groen, who owned almost all of the McDonald restaurants in Cincinnati, his administrator, Mr. Ed Cummins, and I flew to Chicago to visit the Ronald McDonald House there. It was imperative to get Mr. Groen's support if we were to have a Ronald McDonald House in Cincinnati. We obtained his support and came back very impressed with the house in Chicago. The Ronald McDonald House in Chicago admitted only children with cancer and their parents. We decided that the Ronald McDonald House in Cincinnati should not limit the house to parents of children with cancer, but extend it to parents of any child with a life-threatening disease or trauma. We met with Dr. Wright again, and he suggested that we get someone to be the president of the board who was well connected with Procter & Gamble. You know what Procter & Gamble means to this community. Dr. Wright recommended Mr. Stoner Fitch, who was the vice president of manufacturing at P&G, to lead the group in planning the facility and raising funds to build the house and open the program. All of the officers of the Children's Family House Board resigned, and Dr. Gail Nelkamp became the chairman of the board. Mr. Fitch was elected as the president. The other officers of this first board were Vice President Mrs. Jane Dumbazi, who isn't here tonight, Secretary Dr. Paul McHenry, and Treasurer Mr. Milton Schwartz. I know he's here, and I'd like for him to stand because he really had a lot to do with this. I served with Mr. Fitch on the development committee and made multiple presentations about the Ronald McDonald House to foundations, corporations, and organizations, and was featured on the local TV stations to raise funds from the public. We raised about $1.2 million, which was sufficient funds to build the first house and to help with the operating funds before the program opened in 1982. We thought when we planned the space for the first house that 20 rooms would be sufficient numbers of rooms for the parents in the Ronald McDonald House. We didn't know what we were doing. During the late 1980s, the Children's Family House Board name was changed to the Ronald McDonald House. In 1997, the Ronald McDonald House Board voted to move the location of the house to the present location and to expand the number of rooms to 48. Yet, because of the great increase in the numbers of patients being served at Cincinnati Children's Hospital beginning in the 1990s, even the second house was not sufficient to meet the needs of families of children admitted to the hospital. There was a special need for larger rooms for children who received bone marrow transplants since the immune system of these children is very compromised and they are very prone for infections. You've heard that the bone marrow transplant unit uses a lot of the rooms today. These children with a parent are in the Ronald McDonald House for an extended period of time. A new wing, bringing the total to 78 bedrooms, was built and dedicated in 2009. The Ronald McDonald House has served over 23,000 children and families throughout its years in operation. Mrs. Jennifer Gooden, whom you've heard and we all love, has been the executive director for the past 14 years and has overseen the expansion of the Ronald McDonald House from that 20 to the 78. She's an outstanding leader, dedicated and loved and respected by all of her personnel and the families in the house. Jennifer and the Ronald McDonald House have been the recipient of multiple local and national awards. We're very proud of you, Jennifer, and the Ronald McDonald House, and all of you volunteers. The house currently, once again, has a long waiting list. I am pleased to say I had a small part in the beginning of the Cincinnati Ronald McDonald House, and I want to thank Dr. Audrey Evans, and I will when I see her, for her vision and compassion in founding the first Ronald McDonald House actually in the world. I also thank Jennifer Gooden, the Ronald McDonald House Board, and volunteers for their continued leadership and compassion in providing an outstanding facility and program for families and their children needing the Ronald McDonald House as children are treated at Cincinnati Children's. And thank you again, all of you.
She's amazing, isn't she? And never takes credit for all the work she put into the house. But Bea, we are so grateful you're here tonight. We have a little gift for you. I think you'll love it. It's you'll see it when you open it, but it's a special gift. I don't want to blow it, but it shows Bea's involvement from the beginning and everything it's meant to us at the house. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Yeah, you can open it. And Elise is going to come back up to the stage now, too.
Yeah. Go ahead. You're just going to open it. You want some help opening it? While she's opening her special gift from us, you know, you always have these great plans, and Dr. Evans is on her way. She's coming from Philadelphia, and oh yes, there's a thank you book, a photo album of the years of the house in the beginning, and it actually has Philadelphia House and how it started. So we honor both of the women in this photo album. They're amazing, the parallel lives and the compassion and care they've given to so many families is truly, there are no words.
I'd like to just say one more thing. Thank you very, very much. But Mary Rath is in the auditorium, I think. I think you will recall the time that we were in the Children's Hospital auditorium for the orientation for the volunteers, for the very first number of volunteers. And look what we have now. Look what you have now. And that is fantastic. And I think you've done a great job.
So We were excited for Dr. Evans to come tonight, and she can scoot on that thing. It's awesome. So the plan was to have Dr. Evans here, and she's coming from Philadelphia. Her flight was supposed to come in at 5, but wouldn't you know it, there's this horrible storm on the East Coast. They are driving from the airport as we speak. So we've changed the program a little bit. We are fortunate to have the Art Museum until 10 o'clock. And Dr. Evans is still going to be up here. We're going to have coffee and dessert upstairs in the Great Hall, and we are hoping, and we're going to ask her to do her speech up there. She is so disappointed that she couldn't be here for this part of the program, but we do invite you up for that. And in the whole, I hope you take a minute to read the insert that we've provided. That's just a snapshot of what these two amazing women have done. I mean, think about it. They were women at a time when they were starting out their careers, when it wasn't acceptable for women to be, wasn't heard of that women were doctors, and the pioneering research they did, plus the compassionate care, the total care philosophy of caring for the whole family, not that just the sick child, was revolutionary. And it is such an honor to carry out their mission and their vision. So thank you, Dr. Lampkin, and a great thanks to Dr. Evans, whom we will get to meet later. And with the whole cell phone thing, I got off track, and we forgot to, we had special gifts for our Heart of the House finalists, so I didn't want to go throughout the program without recognizing the 3 amazing, wonderful, lovely volunteers that have gained so much respect and support and admiration from their volunteers. So I'd like for Tracy Middleton, Brenda Figgins, and Don Jansen to come up to the stage for a special gift. So it is an honor to have all of you here together in the room together. It's so much fun, like Jen and Felicia said. This is one of my favorite nights of the whole year, and it really is special to be a part of the work that you do here at Ronald McDonald House. Just like Dr. Lampkin and Dr. Evans are dreamers for a better tomorrow for our children, so are you. You are dreamers and doers, and you get the work done, and you make sure that children have hope for a better future. And so I want to give a gift from my heart to yours. There is one of my favorite songs. It's a Disney song, and the words I think are so fitting for what you do and for what our heroes Dr. Lampkin and Dr. Evans do. When you wish upon a star, it makes no difference who you are. Your dreams can come true, and you really do make dreams come true for families that really need you in a desperate time. So I'd like to sing for you When You Wish Upon a Star. When a star is born, they possess a gift or two. One of them is this: they have the power to make a wish come true. When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. If your heart is in your dreams,
No request is too extreme when you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. Fate is kind. She comes to those who love the sweet fulfillment of their secret longing. Like a bolt out of the blue, fate steps in and sees you through when you wish upon a star. Your dreams come true.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do. I hope you know how much we appreciate you. Before we end our program, I want to let you know that every volunteer will receive a special gift from us. We asked the children of our house if they could give something to our volunteers, what would they give them? And you'll see a booklet full of artwork. One of my favorites is one of the children want to give you a $70 bill. One of them wants to give you a helicopter. So take some time, and really, I invite you to take some time and sit down and read this. There's also quotes from our families about you. And I hope you know how much your work means to these families and to these children. So please enjoy that. So you'll get those on your way out. What was my other? And then, oh yes, upstairs afterwards, we'd like for you to join us in the Great Hall. And Dr. Evans will give her speech up there. And I hope you can join us, and Dr. Lampkin will be there too to go ahead and have a conversation with her and get to meet this amazing woman. And just thank you so much for being with us tonight. Words cannot really properly describe how much you mean to us. You are priceless to us, and I hope you enjoyed your evening, and we'll see you at the house next time. Thanks so much. With a lot of people waiting to see. Dr. Evans is here. We're so excited. It is my complete pleasure to introduce to you the founder of the first Ronald McDonald House in the world, right here in Cincinnati, Dr. Audrey Evans.
Well, it's nice. It's nice to be here at last. We spent a long time in Philadelphia Airport. people say very nice things about me, about starting the Ronald McDonald houses, and when I was thinking about it on my way here, I thought, it isn't true. I did not start a Ronald McDonald house. What I wanted, and somebody, the Eagles football team, gave to me, was a house with 4 bedrooms. One of them in the attic could be shared with four parents, and my technician ran it as a home. But in no way was it what we think of today as a McDonald house. However, the involvement of the Eagles football team included the McDonald's organization. When I had asked the football team, I've got a house, I need to pay for it. So Jimmy Murray, who was the manager of the Eagles, asked the McDonald's area manager, instead of paying for a player that was advertising, would they like to pay for Audrey's house? So they said, well, sure. They said, well, can we name it? Can we name it Ronald McDonald? We said, we can name it anything you like, we don't care. We can name it Ronald McDonald. I barely knew what Ronald McDonald was. When we first got involved with this, my secretary said, I've never been to a McDonald's. So she said, well, you better go. So I said, well, what will I eat? I said, well, go for breakfast, and you can have orange juice and an English muffin, and that would be okay. I said, oh, I would like that, I'll do that. So I solemnly go to the nearest McDonald's, and I have orange juice, and coffee, and an English muffin, so I'd been to McDonald's. But that's all I knew about McDonald's. When I'm thinking about what we all think of now of a Ronald house all over the world, I went to the one in London that was opened by the Queen Mum. She was just terrific. She was so good. I've been to 3 of the 6 in Japan. I was there when we opened the one in Holland. So they would put their imprint on something which they thought was a really good thing for children. And McDonald's, for better or for worse, are very good for children. And so it grew. People would come and then they would talk about it elsewhere, and other people would say, well, that sounds like a good idea. And I think there isn't anybody now who, with a sick child or is going to visit a hospital, said, I wonder if they have a McDonald house. And so they call up to the hospital and they say, yes, they do or don't. If you don't, you're really in bad trouble. The hospital's in bad trouble. Everybody has to have a McDonald house. And also, it does take a lot of work, a lot of organization in the house itself. It needs a big staff. But it needs the goodwill of the people who come and make it work. Because you couldn't have one person sitting at the desk and somebody who cleans up the rooms, and that's all it was. Because it's the whole, it is, however big it is, I think ours has something like 80 rooms. The one in New York, I think, I told them it was getting too big. But, well, it's hard to have a house that has, I mean, not many of us live in 80-room houses. But, so anyhow, and so that it has grown and is it's almost part of pediatric care for sick children. That there is this, in many hospitals where they have to stay over, there's somewhere where they can go to be taken care of. I knew of one family who were in the army and were in Germany, not in Frankfurt, but somewhere else in Germany. And the wife had two, well, they both had two children, and one of them, who was a 2-year-old, was sick, and he had to go back to the United States. He had a Wilms tumor. So she went with the baby and the 2-year-old. She went from where she was in Germany to Frankfurt, and the hospital at Frankfurt said, well, you can't deal with it here. You have to go to Walter Reed in Washington. So she gets on a plane, she goes to Walter Reed in Washington. And she's in Washington, and they say, oh, well, you better go to Philadelphia. They would take care of you better there. So she gets probably on a train, I suppose, with her two children, and she'd been traveling for about 36 hours. And she goes to Philadelphia, and she has to find out how to get there, and somebody puts her in a taxi, and she rides up. So she goes to the desk with the 2-year-old and the baby, and the person at the desk looks up and says, oh, can I help you? And she dissolved. The fact that somebody finally said, can I help you? And that's the sort of, I don't have to tell you, because I don't work in a McDonald house, but many of you do, and you know that's exactly how anybody is treated. And so I thank you for what you're doing. I have very little responsibility for it now, but I'm delighted to be associated with it, and I go to our house and see how that's going and seeing it's busy. Particularly, we have a lot of British children who are coming over for new drugs. And so when they have 2 or 3, they give me a call, and I come over and spend an afternoon with them. And it makes possible going to a hospital and spending a long time there, and to have another family that's with you. So thank you for what you do.
How did you know?
Well, I hoped it was pictures.
I think you'll enjoy it. It's pictures of Dr. Lampkin and you, and some history. So thank you. Thank you so much. It's such an honor.
Well, it's lovely.
If anybody wants to come up and meet Dr. Evans, come on up. Don't be shy. Everybody's like,
I know. She doesn't bite.